It's time to talk more NAR settlement, and today, folks, we're going to talk about the open house. This is a big question I'm getting for realtors, so let's get at it. So how will open houses be affected for real estate agents? Well, let's talk first of all about the basics of agency law. And we're going to talk about this in terms of an agent from your own firm hosting an open house. Now, this is for larger companies. If you got ABC Realty and you got 60 or 70 agents in the office, and so you as the listing agent want to have one of the other agents in the office host an open house. We've done this for years, and it's going to go the same way that it always has. Here's the key. The host agent is a sub-agent of the seller because of the listing agreement between the firm and the actual listing agent. That's the way North Carolina law works, and it's the basics of agency law. So every agent at that firm, other than the actual listing agent, is a sub-agent of the seller. What that means is any buyer can come in and walk through the house. They don't have to sign anything. They can literally walk through all they want to. However, if they get to the point where they're asking questions that cross over the line of first substantial contact, if they ask, how much is the house? How much money would we need to put down? How much negotiating room is there on the price? We have to move by the end of September because of a job transfer. All of those things are crossing the line of confidentiality, and the host agent has to stop the buyer at that point and go through an actual buyer consult and walk them through the buyer's agency agreement. Now, it is possible that the buyer may be willing to sign an exclusive buyer's agency, but only for that one house. So I'd want to make sure I get paid. So I'm going to use that exclusive buyer's agency agreement and ask them to sign just for that one particular property. So it'll be for one day, one particular property, and they're good to go. However, if they decide that they don't want to sign an exclusive buyer's agency, I also have the option of having them sign Form 203, which is the non-exclusive buyer agency agreement. Now, the non-exclusive buyer agency agreement is very similar to what we saw as oral buyer agency here in North Carolina, and folks that are not realtors can still operate within oral buyer agency. So that's a very important key here. If you're not a realtor, you don't have to follow these new NAR rules. But it's still advisable for anybody that shows a property to have an agreement put in writing. Now, where it gets different and where it gets complicated is if you have somebody from another firm host your open house. For example, 68% of the brokers in charge in the state of North Carolina are only supervising themselves. So if that brokerage has an open house and they have a friend of theirs from another company to be the host, it totally changes the rules. And what happens is because the host agent does not have an agency relationship with the seller, any buyer that walks in the door must sign an agency relationship agreement to have the agreement in writing. Now, again, the primary goal is to get an exclusive right to represent the buyer, Form 201 here in North Carolina. And again, have the one day for one property. This one property, if the buyer were to choose to buy it, the host agent would be the representative and they would automatically get paid. Or we could go to Form 203, the non-exclusive buyer agency agreement, but that has to be signed. Here's the key. If the buyer refuses to sign both of those agreements, they cannot see the house. They cannot tour the house. It's that simple. So if you're an agent that's hosting open houses outside of your firm, maybe you're sitting on site to fill in for an on-site agent at a new construction, or you've got a friend that's an independent broker and he's asked you to host an open house for you. You have to understand the rules are different in that case, and you must have buyer's agency down to a written agreement, whether it's exclusive or non-exclusive. Otherwise, the buyer cannot tour the house. It is that simple, folks. If the buyer is not willing to sign anything, there's no tour of the home allowed, and that would be an MLS rules violation if the buyer's agent were allowing them to do that without a written agreement. I know it sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. Keep your open houses in your own company if possible, and you can have as many people tour the property as you'd like. You just have to go through that first substantial contact process. But if somebody from outside your firm hosts the open house, every person that comes in there needs to have a buyer's agency agreement in writing. Thanks for watching. We'll be back with more soon.